Now we have the speakers for the next panel. We have Reddy, and they will be talking about, once again, I'll remind the topic to all of you. The Fireside chat will be happening about Pharma 4.0, redefining the future of the pharma industry. I'd like to call upon the speakers, Pranav Gadre, Vice President Information Technology, Reliance Life Science. Please put your hands together for him. And also we have Narendra K. Saini, Chief Digital and Data Officer, Lupin. Also, you can please put your hands together. And unfortunately, I'm the dumbest person here, but I have been given the responsibility to ask you the questions.
Sure.
So we have the mics ready for both of them. And yeah, the audience question is also open for all of you. Now, thank you so much. And I'll request everyone, the networking is still going on towards the end. Gentlemen, ladies, please settle down. Thank you. Now, this is to both of you. The question is open to both of you. One by one, you can share your insights on this. How, in your respective organizations, did you adopt the digital transformation journey?
You want to go in first? I answered the same question some time back. So maybe you can start. You can follow.
Yeah.
You have the new speaker, right, Reddy?
Thanks. And my apologies, I look a little different than from my photograph. Yeah, well, I think this is because of digital. It is not giving us enough time to even do some of the basic things.
Maybe we should have a track and trace.
Yeah, but I think coming back to the question, I think interesting question. Almost everybody is dealing with this question, on an almost daily basis. I hope all of you are also dealing with this question every day. Is it true? Okay, I saw only 1.5 hand raised, but okay, good. So I think when it comes to digital transformation, I think pharma as an industry has been a laggard, but I think as an industry, almost all Indian pharma companies have started working on this. Not now, maybe 4, 5, 6 years before itself. But the actual structure started to evolve post-COVID. Okay, COVID in absolutely no sense it was good, but in the way and in that sense, I think it has helped us to see the digital adoption within the organization. You can understand compliance-heavy, largely paper-driven, paper-pushers industry, but pharma is. People, they found it difficult to even do the online meetings and to be able to convey these things, and then the adoption of Microsoft Teams for that matter, and a lot of online collaboration tools during the COVID time has had a tremendous growth when it comes to the pharma industry. So what happened because of that is it gave us confidence to the business teams as well that IT does have a role to play. And when I joined about 2 years back, I was very clearly told that IT and digital has to sit in the center stage. Okay. Until now, I think until then we are seen mostly as a support function, but I think time is changing. We are seen as a partner, and that is a big difference. Okay. Earlier, when the things happened, the business teams would take a decision. Okay, this has to be done, and then inform IT. But today, what happens is that IT becomes a part of those discussions, and we look at the feasibility part of it, where the data integrations has to be done, what all things need to be done. So a big change that has happened in last couple of years. While this was unstructured approach so far, as I said that 5, 6 years we've started on this journey, but I think last 2, 3 years the structure has evolved when it comes to the digital adoption. And for us as Lupin, I think we started working on a digital transformation roadmap. That means we are looking at next 2 to 3 years of horizon, what is to be done and what time frame that needs to be done. So that means one of the key aspect was the fundamental or foundational programs, which is where we look at data fabric or maybe data-oriented architecture, which moved from different IT and data island that we had in the organization, started connecting with all of them. setting up the data platform, looking at industrial IoT in a much more strategic way rather than one-off experiments here and there. So this is where this found the center stage of the digital transformation roadmap, and along with it, it is largely a KPI driven or a business outcome driven initiatives that came along. So I think when we started the journey about I would say not journey, I would say structuring all these things about 2 to 3 years back. I think from there till today we have now the overall roadmap available. So that's how we looked at it. So when I say the business KPI, that means the technology is a support function. Technology is changing very fast. In particularly in the last 5-10 years, we have seen the cloud adoption took around 8 to 10 years, but today I think everyone goes about multi-cloud strategy. While AI ML is been there for a very long time in drug discovery and in the R&D space, but I think in the day-to-day operation and operational analytics is just becoming commonplace when it comes to the manufacturing or the other parts of the business, except the finance, because I think finance and supply chain already had some sort of analytics already available. So I think that's where we looked at different functions-wise digital maturity score, and then started looking at how we actually enhance the digital maturity of these functions, and that gave us a roadmap of what initiatives that we have to take. So I think the first part is to be able to set up the digital transformation roadmap, and then probably picking up the low-hanging fruits. I believe all of you would know about how the prioritization is done of the different activities, and then picking up low-hanging fruits and the foundational programs first, and start working on those initiatives. So that's how we take up. I believe Pranav has more to say.
Yeah. So I think pretty much part of this question I already answered. So I was part of another panel discussion also earlier for your benefit. So I think just to add on to what he said and couple of takeaways, right? So one thing is very clear that we need to be perceived, as in when I say we, it's IT or technology team, as a partners rather than enablers. So we keep saying that IT is enabler, which is correct, but it's more of a partnership which we need to have with the business. And I think one question asked earlier also, right? How do we drive this transformation? How do we ensure business participates? So we need to make sure that they get engaged right from the start. It's not that, okay, at the end of the whatever your project, you just surprise them with saying, oh, this is what I have got for you. So I think if you want to achieve real transformation, and I'm focusing again on the word transformation, your business team has to be along with you in that journey right from the start. And yeah, I think from 4.0, what the topic is, right? I think there are many new things. So now we are talking with 4.0 about connected systems, about IoT, right? About this Internet of Things and other things. So AI, ML, VR, AR, all those things. So I think those all aspects will come in, but for your initiative to be really successful, one, you need to ensure that the business is there. Second is, as he said rightly, we need to have a roadmap. It should not be some ad hoc and arbitrary, something which you think that, okay, I should do this, I should do that. And third, because again, me coming from a compliance background, I think process is a key element. So anything what you need to do, you need to have a process defined around that, so that it becomes a much more structured approach when you implement it, rather than arbitrary going and implementing one solution in manufacturing, one in QC, or one somewhere else. So you need to have that holistic approach. You need to have the business KPIs, again, as I rightly said, those KPIs need to be measured and tracked. Okay, and then another thing, more of an operational thing, what we plan to institutionalize is having cross-functional KPIs. So like if technology is having some KPIs to implement something, the business team should also have similar KPIs, and vice versa. If the business team is interested with improving their productivity, then that KPI should be there with technology team also, right? So if we have such kind of things, then only I think a true transformation is possible. And pandemic, again, like that was an eye-opener for everyone, and that has definitely given an overall fillip to this transformation journey across pharma especially, which has been a laggard for quite some time now. So that's how we are planning to do it within our organization. Yeah.
You just mentioned about AI and ML. That's what the next question is. Can you please highlight the usage of AI, ML, or AR, or VR technology uses in the cases of pharma industry now?
Yeah, so AI, ML, when we talk about it, artificial intelligence, machine learning and all, right? So I think the more focused areas where I think this is predominantly used is in R&D, drug discovery and all that, because again, it's much data intensive kind of activity where a lot of data crunching needs to happen, a lot of correlation need to be built. Again, earlier I mentioned about knowledge graph, right? So that is another technology which is more focused especially on the data discovery side of things. AR and augmented reality and virtual reality. So one quick use case like during the pandemic we had for virtual use case because for virtual reality was this virtualization of our factory setup, right? Especially like auditors were not able to travel. So what we had to do was we had like virtualize our factory walks so that the auditor, if they are doing remote audit, they can actually look at how your facilities are set up, how the operations are happening, right? Similarly, augmented reality, one use case which I came across, not that we have done that, was like for the HCPs basically. So like drug, again not naming the companies here, like one of the MNCs, they had developed this particular use case and it was for a specifically oncological product which they had. So they had this AR kind of a augmented reality kind of a use case developed where the HCP would wear those HoloLens and subsequently the patient when they come for that treatment, and then the actual augmented reality kind of a thing was mimicked where the how the drug particular enters your body stream, your blood stream, how it actually goes to the impacted area. I think that was for colon cancer or something, and then how it actually interacts with those cancer cells, how it kills. So it was a very beautifully made like AR kind of a virtualization, and it actually gave that perspective. Okay, this is how you actually imagine like the drug entering in your body and how it is trying to tackle that particular disease. So that is just one use case, right? So similarly, I think again for us it's like sky is the limit. You can think of multiple use cases for AR, VR. Like another is digital twins, what we talk about right now. It is used for training. It is used for your what do you say, remote support, especially like if your OEM is based in some different situation. And now with this pandemic, all of us are used to remote supports, right? We have the habit of working from home or getting a remote support. So these use cases now actually come into the fore much more, especially on AR, VR. And AI ML, again, another area which definitely is a prospective use case is predictive maintenance, right? So I think the more and more data you generate, the more and more data you analyze, you can do your predictive maintenance and also have prescriptive maintenance. Okay, so where I think it goes beyond predictive, where we are only able to predict that okay, my machine might go down at this point of time, kind of a thing. But then prescriptive is more about what actions you need to take to avoid that. So all those kind of use cases are possible. Again, within Reliance Life Sciences, we are yet to reach there. Many of those things are into POC stage right now, but I think eventually we will get there. And yeah, I think that's pretty much I can say at this point of time.
Well, I think AI, ML, AR, VR, I think with respect to the use cases, I think augmented reality we have tried for cycle time optimization, the AR one, right? So where we are looking at, one is of course the VR for the training, apart from the use case that we Pranav just referred, the training and compliance part. Second is about the AR is where you can actually on the shop floor really see that how you can do the cycle time optimization. And looking at there are micro stoppages over there in the in the cycle because the operators are doing something. So this is operator dependent, and how we can actually reduce that. Can you really look at the process re-engineering just in case if there's something which can be done in a better way now that we have newer technologies available. So I think there's a good use of augmented reality on the shop floor. That's one. Cycle time optimization is one. Then second is the remote maintenance of these machines. So many of these OEMs are actually not sitting out in India. They have machines which are supplied from across the globe. Can we really look at the quick maintenance or probably breakdown support? So this is another very important use case that we are working on when it comes to the augmented reality. Coming to machine learning and AI part, I think digital twin is already touched upon. So digital twin, you can look at for example in a batch when you have a deviation from golden batch parameters, right? golden batch parameters will only give you a larger range of between which you want to operate. But you can actually within golden parameters, you can still have preferred range of parameters. That means I'm not only talking about golden batch because that for me is to basically maximize the yield. But at the same time, I'm looking the preferred range, and any deviation from that preferred range can tell me if it is a multi-stage product, then in phase one, if stage one, this is the output, what is the expected output depending on various parameters that I would have, and can I actually use the digital twin simulation based techniques to be able to say that what should be the next stage set of parameters probably I should do to optimize the yield in the next stage. Okay. So these are very important use cases, and you know that yield is directly related to the how much per kg from the raw material to the conversion that you do, and I think that's one very important aspect of how we are using machine learning and part of AI when it comes to digital twin. We are also looking at almost all yield optimization, use cases. I think if you can look at, moving your production to top quartile to your batches, the best batches that you have done in the past. I think that's something can really increase the overall production or productivity, right? Then coming to something like overall equipment, OEE part rather. When I say that in OEE, can you further optimize the cycle time? Again, it goes back to the AR use case, but then even otherwise, if I have to go without AR, if I have to again use advanced analytics to really look at where are the different micro stoppages are there, whether they are operator dependent, machine dependent, or because of the raw material unavailability, or some sort of unavailability over there, right? So how you can actually do that? That means can you really implement the supply-driven supply chain, right? Rather demand-driven supply chain. That means that I'm not only talking about on the warehouse, but I'm also talking about the shop floor. Shop floor, can I really manage that one? I think there is still some scope of optimization. I believe we can definitely look at productivity improvement over there. So these are some of the use cases that I can talk about. We can probably talk about these use cases in detail, but I think the advanced analytics, machine learning, AI has a long way to go. Indian pharma industry is still at the nascent stage. I think only last couple of years we've started experimenting with these kind of use cases. But I think I see a very good prospects of AI and ML when it comes to the Industry 4.0 use cases. There are still a lot of other use cases within pharma industry that we can talk about, but particularly to Industry 4.0 or 4IR, this is where I see a good prospect of AI ML as well as AR VR.
Yeah. The next question is to you. Pharma manufacturing involves intensive unit operations and heavy equipment. So how do you ensure less breakdowns and failures to avoid downtimes? To you, Narendra.
So I think it's a multi-stage problem to solve. The stage one is to definitely do your preventive maintenance on time, right? I think everyone is doing that. Everyone has some kind of a preventive maintenance module already available. The next stage would come is that if you analyze last maybe 3 years data or 5 years data, why and how the breakdown happened, what were the leading reasons that you can actually predict, right? And that will give you the requirement of sensorization of the machine if at all required, or can you really use the data which is coming from HMI or a PLC to be able to predict that. If not, if there is still something, that means there is still some piece of information that is missing, you need additional sensorization in the machine, right? So that's where you start building up the use case. You go to the next level of being able to predict and see what accuracy level that you are able to predict that one. And the moment you hit an accuracy level of 80 or above, then you can actually start looking your min-max planning for the supply chain, particularly for the spare parts accordingly. So that means in case of there is a downtime for related to the prediction that you have, you can immediately supply that additional part and make sure that the equipment is back and running. So it's in a way predictive maintenance, but at the same time, at some point of time, it comes also in the prescriptive mechanism that we have learned over a period of time that machine can break down. because of these reasons, can I put some prescription to the parts availability or to the manufacturing or engineers availability accordingly. So I think it's a multi-stage, preventive to predictive to prescriptive, and I think different equipments in depending on which particular manufacturing unit you are talking about, what kind of an OEM support is available, you can actually have these kind of maturity levels. So that's how we are also working on this one.
In continuation, Pranav, I have the question for you. I've heard that pharma is moving from unit operations towards continuous manufacturing. From automation perspective, what do you think is required to achieve that?
That's a good question actually. So continuous manufacturing in pharma is actually a new concept. So I think couple of, I would say maybe a year back, I think US FDA had also published a paper on that, on continuous manufacturing. So it is predominantly used in chemical and petrochemical industries where like you are 24/7, 365 days the manufacturing keeps happening. So in pharma, it's predominantly more of a unit operations in which we do one stage, after that it's done in the second stage and then third stage and then the final product comes. But continuous manufacturing is something which is currently getting explored. Obviously it means lot of change on the business side also, because I think you need to change the setup completely. So it's a huge capex investment also, but there are definitely benefits of that also. So I think from automation perspective or from IT perspective, if I have to support such kind of a initiative, I think one thing which definitely what Narendra mentioned about predictive maintenance and all, that is very much required, because when you talk about continuous manufacturing, it means that basically your systems never stop, right? So you need to be able to predict and basically have a prescriptive kind of a maintenance where you know that okay, your system might go down and then make arrangements so that it continues. The second aspect is again all this AI ML what we discussed earlier, right? So that is also very important if you have to do something like continuous manufacturing, because there are a lot of data points which you need to capture. So because I think in the previous session we discussed about compliance. So like in pharma it is heavily regulated industry. So right now I think for when you do your unit operations, after each stage there is a lot of testing which happens. There is IPQC and other parameters. Like if you are doing continuous manufacturing, then all those things will change. Okay, but obviously there are benefits of that, and that's why industry is slowly moving towards that. But then from technology perspective, pretty much all aspects of how you are measuring, monitoring, implementing would change if you have to adopt the continuous manufacturing process. It's a bit, I would say, prevalent in pharma. Pharma is adopting that. Again, in context of life sciences, Reliance Life Sciences, we also are into biosimilars and plasma. There I think it might take still some more time, because there typically the batches run like for a period of 40-45 days and all, and then there is a lot of time required for fermentation and another like basically to develop the culture and all. So there it may still not be a reality in near future until we change the way the process is defined, right? So unless that happens. But in pharma, like especially for API, that is something which is currently explored, and yes, I think technology will have to catch up. Especially with this 4.0 now things, a lot of things we have as enablers from technology perspective to make it happen, but there is a big business change also. So I think the decision, I think in India, I am not sure if any, at least I am not aware if any organization is into continuous manufacturing right now in pharma. But yeah, if there is any, I would be happy to learn more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think anyway, Pranav has summed it up well. I think continuous manufacturing, almost all of us, in fact, all pharma, I can talk on behalf of every other pharma company as well. I hope they are listening, and I'm sorry if they are not agreeing. So I think almost everyone is working on it. So we are figuring out the way, because continuous manufacturing gives us a direct advantage of the yield or the productivity improvement, right? But it has its own challenges. Like when we talk about biochemical reactions and how to really look at what to stop and how to stop, and then when to separate solvent and other things, it becomes a challenge as of now. And there is a reason, there is a valid reason why, like paints or chemical industry, we are not a continuous manufacturing industry as yet. But I think with the advancement of technology, we are doing that. We are also experimenting. I think we have also looked at a couple of processes getting to a fairly matured stage, maybe sometime very soon. But I think almost all pharma companies in India are experimenting with it, and different maturity levels, of course. Yeah.
Sure. Now, do we have any questions on the other side? Any questions? No? Yeah. Can we pass on the mic to the gentleman?
Hi, this is Satish here from Sun Pharma. So I have one question for you guys. So what are the critical gaps we have identified till now for the digital transformation? Simple question.
Take it up.
Yeah, good.
Okay. I think critical gaps, I would actually bring it back to human. Do I need to explain more? So I think it's the adoption which is technology is not a challenge. If you talk about technology, I think it's out there in the market. You ask for one thing to do, you will get 10 different solutions for that one. So technology is not a challenge. The challenge is mindset, challenge is adoption, and how you can actually upskill your people who have been there for the last 20, 15, 20, 25 years doing things in a particular way. How can you change that? Okay. That's a big challenge. Okay. The digital is seen as a threat. Okay. And I think almost everyone sitting over here would agree, because if there is something digital, it is easily automated. The moment it is automated, then probably it has a impact on jobs, right? I don't see it that way, because I've seen lot of transformation in the last few years that we looked at. We could go from something which we were doing just because of the for the reason of audit, or probably just because we didn't have sufficient information available, so it was more reactive. But today we are actually able to do well in advance. For example, I gave an example of how to look at stage wise. If there is a multi-stage product, can I predict stage 2 on the basis of outcome on stage 1 and all these CPPs and critical quality parameters or process parameters, right? So this thing is available today. So we are able to impact the decision making for the next stage of manufacturing. I think there is a big change. The thought process, which was earlier operation centric, can now be quality centric, to be able to improve quality, to be able to improve productivity. I think having said all these things, coming back to the same measure, the largest gap is the mindset, and to be able to adopt digital, understand, and work on it. So I think that is the largest gap.
So I think just to add to what he said, right, 2 points in what he mentioned stuck like to me. One is threat and second is adoption, right? So you need to adopt, otherwise it's a threat. Like we have examples of Sony versus Kodak. We have example of Netflix versus Blockbuster CDs, which were in renting business. So I think it's high time that it becomes more of a executive mandate, the digital transformation, and the companies adopt, okay, and move towards this transformation journey. So as the question what you asked was the critical gap. So I think adoption, mindset, culture are more gaps. Technology is the easiest part of it. As you rightly said, like there are many vendors who have similar solutions or competitive solutions which you can implement. But I think moving ahead with the business and collaborating and implementing and adopting, these are the critical challenges in this overall journey. That's what I feel.
All right. Any other questions? Yeah, sure.
Hi, Narendra, Praveen Nair here. We spoke about prescriptive, predictive type of aspects, mostly taking to digital twin in the digital transformation part. One important question here is, it needs a lot of data. Here in Lupin, how are you doing that in terms of integrating the entire system? Thank you.
So I think thanks to the compliances, we all maintain years of data actually with us. May not be in digital format, that's a different thing, and that's an activity that we undertake. But the data, there's no dearth of data. I think for every single product, we have to maintain at least 7 to 10 years of data right, with us. So data is currently not a challenge. The challenge is the data available in digital format which can be consumed? And that challenge we overcome. We see from use case to use case what and where things are required. So we are working on that one. I believe data-wise we don't see a challenge, but in any particular example that you want to take where the data was a challenge.
You said there is a part of digital twin being acting, or you are doing something as a POC maybe, or there is a development in Lupin in terms of digital twin is concerned, where you are actually exercising predictive or prescriptive type of analysis. So I want to know from that aspect, if at all you are engaging yourself in getting all those data from the various operations that you deal with, how you do it, the interoperability, stuff like that.
So I think the question, since we don't really have a lot of time, question is big and answer is actually even bigger. But I can just tell you very briefly. I think almost everyone, like everyone else, we also have a lot of islands. Initially I used the word data islands. So we have islands. So data is available, but in different islands. We need to really look at how do we integrate it and how we bring it to a single data platform. So data platform as a foundational initiative also I mentioned earlier, but I think we can talk about it later on.
Thanks, Chandra.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions we have? And this is a good time. You can take him away, have lunch with him, and discuss. Right. Thank you so much, speakers. Please step forward. We'll take a picture with all of you. And thank you so much for coming.